Hello and welcome to the Pandemic Baseball Book Club special edition for the Seymour Medal. Seymour Medal, as you may or may not know, is SABR's highest honor for Baseball Book of the Year. I'm joined today by the two best people to talk about this, Scott Bush, president of SABR, awarder of the Seymour Medal, and Eric Nusbaum, author of Stealing Home, awardee of the medal. Eric, congratulations on winning the Baseball Book of the Year.
Thank you. It's really cool.
Well deserved. It's a really, really good book. I mean, Eric and I were there at the beginning of the Pandemic Baseball Book Club. Your book was one of the very first reasons I thought about doing publicity for my book when it came out in paperback, because we had so much to talk about. You know, my book being about the 1981 Dodgers, your book being about the process of building Dodger Stadium and Chavez Ravine. But we're really here today to talk about what made it medal worthy. And for that, I will turn to Scott Bush. Scott, you had a lot of really good books at your fingertips. There were a bunch of great baseball books out last year. You can see most of them at our own Pandemic Baseball Book Club website. What about this particular book appealed to you?
Yeah. So first, obviously, congratulations, Eric. And second, I want to thank our Seymour Medal committee of Amy Essington, Andy Andres, and Jan Finkel for working through the incredible task of reviewing a lot of great books and then sitting down to determine, which one is the best. And the Harold and Dorothy Seymour Medal is really designed to honor the best baseball book that is either a biography or historical in nature. I think what Eric did so incredibly well throughout Stealing Home is he covered history, but also he, in some ways, was also the biographer for several central players in this story. And so in many ways, this award sort of congeals around both. It's the history of the creation of Chavez Ravine, but it's also the biography of these people who didn't necessarily ask for baseball to be part of their life, and it became really central to their lives. And that is really, in my mind, what separated Eric's work from the field.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a number of benchmarks. I think you tell a good baseball story, but you tell an even better social story. And I think everyone in our profession understands that good sports writing is really just good writing. We're writing about society at large. How did you approach it going into the project, Eric?
I definitely, it's a baseball book, but I didn't really approach it that way. It was more of like, how am I going to tell the story of these people and this societal story? And there was a point when I was researching and writing in the beginning where I was like, oh my God, there's not going to be any baseball in here at all. And I had to go back and figure out how to make the story work. Because obviously the book's about the construction of Dodger Stadium, which is a ballpark, but a lot of the events that to its construction, at least on the surface, the tangible events, I guess you could say, were not really baseball adjacent. It was about immigration or housing, kind of race in America and all these other issues. And baseball comes into it later, at least on the surface. But then I kept on digging, and you kind of realize that under the surface, all these events are kind of being set up by different kind of forces in society revolving around baseball, whether it's like urban boosterism or the sort of like mythologizing and the national religion of baseball, and as it kind of took hold in the early 20th century. And I kind of felt lucky that I got to write about that stuff because it's really fascinating.
I'm very curious, Eric, how you settled is probably the wrong term. How, as you were doing your research, did you select one family over another to focus on? Because you reference a number of different families, that are affected by this change. Was it simply a matter of the Arachaga family being the last to go? Was that sort of why they became that window for the community?
Yeah, so I mean, I had read a lot about this subject, obviously, being two previous Seymour books that cover it, Gerald Podair's City of Dreams and Annie McHugh, Mover and Shaker. Both of those guys were extremely generous with their time. Right? And I kept on across this fact that at the end, there's this violent eviction of the Arechiga family by LA sheriffs to make way for the construction of the stadium. And this scene is sort of the climax in many tellings of the book, not of the book, the story of how Dodger Stadium came to be. I was curious why that family and those people were there and why they were kicked out forcefully and other people weren't. What made them stay and resist long? What put them in that unique situation? And I didn't feel like those questions were being answered necessarily. So I just started kind of pulling the string a little bit and making phone calls and reading. And I just found them to be really compelling and interesting. And I had a sort of question that I wanted to answer for myself. And it just worked out to be a good storytelling choice too, I think.
They're very compelling characters for sure. Scott, while we've got you on the line, can you tell us a little bit about the criteria you use to select the winner, apart from the fact that he has to be writing about Dodger Stadium in some way?
He doesn't have to be writing about Dodger Stadium. It's the best baseball history book or biography of the year. So anything about Dodger Stadium. In previous winners, not Dodger Stadium. Oh my God, baseball. You got it in my head, Jason. You got it all the way in there.
Sorry, Scott.
So previous winners, last year was Jeremy Beer and his biography around Oscar Charleston. The year before, Jane Levy on Babe Ruth. And ironically, in 2018, Dodger Stadium and the birth of modern Los Angeles, right? So maybe there is a bias within the selection committee, but probably not. But it really comes down to, in this instance, Eric's research is exhaustive, and it's also not limited in its scope to just baseball. That to me is what makes it such a compelling piece of art, really, and allows for the things that Eric has touched on, and that this is a story about a lot of different things. It's a story about societal issues. It's not just a story about baseball. That's what makes it so compelling to read, but it's also what makes it so compelling when you're looking at, the landscape of baseball books, right? This is very broad in ways that it's difficult to make baseball that broad, and it succeeds in so many ways in doing that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you can integrate the conquistadors, you broadened your base quite a bit.
I do think it was the only book that was reviewed that had a naked nun. I believe that to be true. I can't verify for certain.
But pretty certainly the only Seymour Medal award-winning book to feature that particular characteristic.
Yes.
Can you walk us through the process of selection, just very briefly?
Yeah, so it's an open nomination forum, and once all the nominations are received, then the committee goes to the undertaking of reviewing the books, and so they take the part of reading everything that's been nominated and then discussing and disseminating the differences and the highlights of each of the nominated books.
Excellent. And clearly you're very happy with you're happy with the result, no matter who comes out on top. But
it's very difficult, right, to be unhappy. We're fortunate in the baseball writing industry to have a lot of great and talented folks participating, and this year was no exception. So yes, we're always thrilled with the outcome, but I feel like Stealing Home was a really amazing book. So.
All right, and Eric, could you enumerate the vast and wondrous ways this medal in the week since it's been announced has changed your life?
It's been like a week, I think, 1 week. But I don't, people have been really nice and congratulating me, and I appreciate that. It's nice to be appreciated. And also, I have been buying the book more, which the best way to thank an author, as you know, Jason. So I don't know. It's really cool. I think for me, as somebody who is not, a professional academic historian, as many of the winners have been in the past, and who's not like, a long time SABR member. You guys make fun of me for being young. I've been a SABR member for a few years. And I feel like I've had a sort of outsider-ish baseball writing career. I started off writing a blog on WordPress and, kind of like came at this industry a little bit sideways. So to be appreciated by SABR and, by the peers who I admire and this organization who provides these resources that make my job so much more fun and so much easier, it's super rewarding. It's surreal.
Awesome. Anything to add, Scott?
Yes, I have a process question that I'm just curious about. I'm taking this in another direction, so I apologize, Jason. But, so Eric, I'm reading the story. We go from character to character, and it allows for linear storytelling, but we're moving from a group of people who are not yet connected to one another in that process. So as you were writing that, did you write through each character first and then sort of configure how the chapters laid out, or did you what did that process look like for you?
I think I had a pretty decent idea early on of vaguely that I wanted like the characters there to be short chapters. I kind of came upon that decision, and that I thought it would make the book move faster and sort of help kind of amp up the drama. Because a story that takes place over a long period of time with these seemingly disparate threads, and I needed there to be a little bit of momentum and tension page, and so that was one of the ways I could do it. And as I was writing, I didn't just like write Frank Wilkinson, who's a central character in the book, start to finish, and then Adechiga start to finish, and then like the Dodgers start to finish. It was more, I had, like different working documents, and I was cutting and pasting. It was this really like, movies where you see like the trying to like solve the crime, and he has that wall with all the like string everywhere. That was like me. I was completely insane trying to like piece it all together for a while. It was not a smooth process.
Did you have literal string on a wall?
No, I didn't have literal string on the wall. I had like legal notebooks that were just like full of chicken scratch and Word docs and Google Docs and emails that I would write to myself at night. It would have been better if I had string on a wall. Like I see Scott behind him has Post-it notes on his wall. I think like there's elegance to those Post-it notes that I wish I could approach at work.
That's an unfinished to-do list that's gathered a lot of dust is actually what that is.
It's an elegant unfinished to-do list, Scott. Also, Eric, you would run the risk with small children in your house that if you did not put those Post-its at a sufficient height, your whole organizational method would be destroyed by morning.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, string on a wall. How could you not tear down and play with it?
There you go. Well, I think we've satisfied our purpose. We've gathered you here to say congratulations on a massive honor. It really is so well deserved, and I cannot be happier for you. As somebody who has been nominated but not yet won the Seymour Medal, I really cannot be happier for you. It's so great. Thank you, Eric, for being here. Thank you, Scott, for weighing in and doing all you do for SABR. As an organization that hinges on the support of SABR members, we are in your debt.
Well, thank you for having me. Congrats again, Eric. Really fantastic work, and I look forward to seeing you in person at the next 9 conference. Hopefully.
Yeah, 2022. I'm excited for that. That'll be my first book event, maybe.
There you go.
Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully we will all see each other in person at some point. Thanks, guys.